Well, Melissa, I'm so glad to get to host this conversation today as we talk through kind of what does creating culture in your startup and the company that you're founding, and that doesn't have to wait till you actually have lots of people. So a little spoiler there, but yeah, I'm excited to share your expertise with the community. So will you go ahead and just introduce yourself and kind of what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, right on. Well, I'm Melissa, and I founded my company, ThriveOps Labs, which is a company of one. And my mission is really to help people, teams, and companies thrive. So my background and experience has spanned mostly in biotech and tech over the last 12, 13 years. So I started my career in HR, talent, and culture in a small company called Genealogics here in Canada. And we started as a company of 25 when I was there and grew to about 60 people. And then we were acquired by a Fortune 500 company down in the States called Illumina. And that was kind of the ultimate opportunity in terms of our acquisition portfolio. Like that was the number one pick, which was really exciting. And so I worked at Illumina for 2 years. And in that time, they grew from being a company of about 4,200 to a company of 8,000. So I saw a lot of growth there as well. From there, I went to another small startup and we grew that team from 25 to 50. And then we merged with another Canadian company of about 40 people. So that's kind of my M&A experience. I was the project lead for both of those and obviously managed all the culture changes that we stumbled through along the way. And then in the last few years, I've predominantly just been working with founders, really on the one-to-one basis and with their small teams. So mostly people under 5 employees or maybe 6 or 7. I really like this size, I think, because there is so much impact to be had when you're just working with a founder. It can have a massive impact on the product, the team, and all the things. So that's kind of where my focus has been in the last while.
Awesome. Well, I love that. Yeah, I love the different types of experience that you're bringing in to this conversation, but also that it's you've been in those shoes, you've been walking with people in those shoes as founders, and so I'm excited to dive in. So let's jump into the framework and kind of look at what is culture, what does creating culture look like in each of these stages. All right, so we walked through that stage of scalability. We survived it. The next stage is saturation, and so saturation it's the arrival at the end of scalability. It's the arrival at market dominance. So now you are dominating a market. Now this doesn't mean you're the biggest in the world necessarily. This could be a geographic market. It could be a small segment in some way, but you're dominating whatever the edges of that market are. So at this point too, like again, you're trying to sustain. It doesn't mean you stay flat. You're still trying to grow, but you're the big one in that segment. And it also means now there's some more. We've talked about communicating a lot. Now there's more external communication than there ever has before, not just with customers, but maybe with regulators, with media, with others. So there's as the founder, I think there's even more of a tendency to turn outward from the organization. But you still want to cultivate that culture and lead and communicate inward. You're needing to continue to innovate so you don't become stale at the top. So even though your company may be in saturation, you probably have either divisions or other offers that are coming back through all the stages that we've talked about before. So you may even have teams within your organization that are at different stages. You have some that feel like we're in saturation and others are like, no way, we're way back here in discovery. So again, it feels more stable than scalability, but it's still pretty complex. What does it look like? What should a founder be thinking about here?
Yeah, I mean, this is the point where your systems and your processes and your team, everything's really reinforcing itself, right? So hopefully you've got a really, really good foundation laid by this point, right? I think as a founder at this point, you should have rhythms in place for communication. So maybe now you're just doing like a quarterly company meeting where you're sharing the goals. You want to make sure that you are trusting your leadership team, your directors, or whoever is below you. You want to really be making sure that they know more nuance than you do and that they're empowered to communicate with their teams. I think this really, your leadership needs to shift to really empowering others and being as like scalable with yourself as possible, right? So that you can still be focused really forward and growth. And this is the time when if you're kind of like a leader in the space, you're probably doing a lot more in the public eye and less for your team. And so you need to have, you really need to have laid a strong, trusting foundation by now so that you don't have to be in front of your team all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then your team should have, your team should be doing now what you were doing in the early stages. Like they should be reflecting on what's going on. They should be figuring out the next systems that need to come into place. They need to be, looking at the values and really embodying them and questioning, is this decision aligned with our values? It's like you're almost have grown a whole bunch of mini-me's, mini founders of their respective areas, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, this is something now it's bigger than you in a really amazing way. So yeah, you want to make sure you're still invested in the team and what's being built and passionate there, but in a way that really empowers your team to feel like they can do it.
That's really, really helpful. As you're talking about, making all the little mini-me's in there, it made me think of a mentorship model that we used for many years of modeling, assisting, watching, and then coaching. And so it's the idea of like, okay, I'm doing it, you're watching me, you're doing it, I'm helping, or I'm assisting, and then you're doing it, I'm just watching. And then, hey, I'm sort of semi-present and I'm coaching you as you need it. And really you should be on most of the things. It sounds like you should be in that coaching space for the people on your teams. And maybe even a lot of that communication that was on your shoulders before, not that you're totally absent, but you're, like you said, you're empowering because you can't coach and you can't communicate into all of the divisions and down all of the chains. So you really need those who are leading large parts of the organization at this point to be, founders. Like you said, I like how you framed that. They're founders of that part of the company in a way.
Yeah. And I mean, I think having like regular cadence of meetings, it's not bureaucratic. I think it's a really good like signpost. It's a good way for people to expect, walk the walk, talk the talk, right? It's a good way to check in. And so having quarterly meetings at this point should look like, the CEO founder message followed by the team, everyone who's directing their respective areas doing updates, right? It shouldn't just be you at this point. Yeah, cascading goals I think is awesome, honestly, because it allows for that empowerment within the organization. And if you can directly tie what you're doing to what the CEO is talking about, it's really empowering, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You see your role in the whole, you see the importance of it. It's very empowering. Founding is not an easy journey, and as we've talked through all of these stages, we see that there's a lot of highs, there's good things, there's lows, there's monotonous things. But the culture does really frame how that works all together. And even as we were wrapping up with events, I thought it was interesting that, as you're talking about how a lot of it rests on you as a founder, kind of navigating the unscripted. But a lot of that is formed way back in the first thing we talked about, in that existential stage, when you talked about it being a personal operating system and you kind of have a culture of one. Hey, if you take the time and you are intentional in forming that early, then you have it when you face the unexpected. And if you don't cultivate that and you don't strengthen it, then you don't have that foundation when you hit those unexpected changes. So I like how that actually kind of came full circle there. But as we kind of wrap up though, Melissa, what would you want to say to a founder, just kind of as we think about the whole journey, as they're creating culture, as they're leading, any exhortations, any encouragements or guidance you wanna leave with our founding community here?
Oh, well, I think I said it in the beginning too. It's like this is such a personal growth opportunity, right? And I think stepping into the fact that you're a leader early is
Mm,
is a really good move. And this process of developing yourself is so important because people want you to see you level up, and you're going to want it for yourself. Yeah, so doing the things that you need to do in order for that to happen, take the time out when you need the time out. If you're somebody who doesn't need the time out, great. But if you are, show your team who you are and that you take little breaks.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's another thing. It's like understanding how much your team and your company wants to know about your personal life. Just because you're a founder doesn't mean they have to know all the nitty-gritty details, right? That's
Right.
not everyone's style. And so, giving yourself the grace and permission that, these are the boundaries that I'm going to have and create. And if you don't have those and that's the way you operate too, go for it. Just really being conscious, I think, of yourself can pay off so much at all stages. And so, yeah, if that's working with a coach early on or bringing on a co-founder to, help your gaps, is that getting an HR or chief of staff or someone that you can lean on to? Definitely having people in your corner you can trust
Mhm.
is so helpful. It can be lonely at the top, so try
Yeah.
and as you're growing your crew in your company, yeah, you definitely want to create a little team that you can trust, and vice versa.
Well, I appreciate you, encouraging us and exhorting us, guiding us as we walk through all those stages. The just continue to hear the themes of knowing yourself, of that self-awareness, of intentionality and communication. And it just seemed like, okay, if you're as a founder, if you're listening to this and whichever stage you're in, those are probably some of the levers you're going to pull. But I encourage, if you're just listening to one of the stages, go back and listen to the others because they do all weave together really naturally. So, Melissa, thanks for
Yeah.
sharing with the community. I have
Thanks, David.
loved this interview. It's been a lot of fun. I think it will be a huge blessing to all of our founders. So, thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.